Hello, everybody. This is Senor MA again. I wanted to do a quick video to help students. So this one is going to be aimed right now for the month of November towards my students who are in eighth grade. So we went over SARE and Estar. And this is a little bit more of a tricky topic, and I want to revisit it a couple more times as we go further into material. For seventh grade students, we have been focusing, at least up to this point, just on SARE because most of the things that they're going to see so far, until we probably get to emotions or we are talking about location, are pretty much going to focus on using SARE. So here's the thing that's most difficult for students. So they've seen SARE. However, in English, we use the verb to be quite a lot. And we use it for things that in Spanish would have many other different uses. But the other thing that's very difficult between English and Spanish is that ser and a star both mean to be, but they have different uses. So where we think of things like I am hungry, you're not always hungry all the time. You are thirsty. You're not always thirsty all the time. You're 12 years old. Well, that will change. So one of the things that comes up often is what's permanent and what's not permanent. So as we talk about that, I'm going to show how for most things you're going to see Sarah is permanent, and a star you're going to see them as much more temporary. So we've seen a couple examples of Sarah and a star already in class. So when we were going over introductions, you can see here, yo soy Señor M.A., so I am Señor M.A. Also, you are from New York, so tú eres de Nueva York. Please note de means from. We're going to be working on prepositions soon. And ella es una estudiante, so she is a student. And then on the other side, we've seen star so far with ¿Cómo estás? So how are you? And yo estoy muy bien. Estoy muy bien. So as you can see here, when we're just asking how someone is, this is a little bit more of a temporary condition. So you might ask this to friends, family members, almost every day. So because things keep changing. So here's how we conjugate ser, and I plan to make a video about this in greater detail, but right now we have here soy, and one of the cheesy jokes is what happened was soy milk, just introducing itself in Spanish. Next, tu eres, he is, she is, and you formal. So usted, we're going to use s. So note how similar that is to the English word for is. That's really going to help students. Next, we are, we're going to use nosotros somos. And note how mos ends it, just like we almost would a regular verb. You can skip vosotros. You do not need to study it because it's always complicated and it's only used in Spain. So sois is how they would say it. For you guys are, so that is informal. And then they are, or you guys formal, would be son. So I like to always point students to the fact that that sounds so much like the word for son. So I think so and so has three sons. They are her sons. Is a good way to remember it. Now for a star, this is slightly irregular because of the accents, and we are going to use for I am estoy. You are estás. He or she or usted está. And we are estamos. Vosotros estáis, and they are, or you guys, formal is going to be están. So also, please note the accent marks. Unfortunately, when we do not have the accent marks on estás, está, they can potentially be words for this when they are feminine. Okay, so here is an acronym. one of the things that I'm always looking for is ways for students to be able to better memorize this material. So I thought that this was a really strong way to remember it. So let's focus first on ser. So as I mentioned, this is the verb that we're going to use when something is much more permanent. So here we have the acrostics doctor. So this is the way to remember what I would consider the six hard rules for ser. So first we have his description. So if you're describing somebody by their physical appearance, or you're describing something by its physical appearance. So here we have soy alto, meaning I am tall. Next is occupation. So this is why I think this is great. We have the word, we can use the word doctor for occupation or job. My dad is a policeman. Mi padre es policía. Or mi madre es una doctora. My mother is a doctor. Now, for characteristics, this one can be about personality. So, this is what the seventh graders are going to be going over towards the end of November, early December. So, if someone is friendly, we can say soy amable, or él or ella es amable. Next, for time, time is going to use, as we've gone over in class, if it's 1 o'clock or during the hour of 1 o'clock, morning or night, we're going to use es la una and then whatever minutes afterwards. If it's going to be a number after 1 o'clock, so 2 to 12, we are going to use son las. So here we have it's four, son las cuatro. All right, next, origin. So if you are telling where something is from, as we mentioned beforehand, with tú eres de Nueva York, or soy de Connecticut, this is where you're going to use origin. And then finally, when we are talking about a relationship, so ella es mi madre, she is my mother. Ellos son mis hermanas, so that would be they are my sisters. This is where we are going to use relationships, or in this case, um, we're also seeing possession here as well. So es mi calculadora, so that is my calculator. Now with ser, this is one is more temporary. The thing that might confuse people though is if we're talking about a building or a place, oh, that's pretty permanent, wouldn't it be? The business isn't moving, my house isn't moving anytime soon. But for a star, I need to consider it for to be temporary. So to start off the list is position. So here we have el niño está sentando. So the child is sitting, or the boy is sitting. And position is a good one to start off with. Next, if you're talking about where someone is, um, or in this case, we have here for location, están arriba de la mesa. So whatever we're talking about here, we have they are on top of the table. So we had a map that I showed students, and one of the things we did was is we talked about where were certain things in town. So I can go back to that and mention it in a later video. But is it in front? Está enfrente de la farmacia. It's front of the pharmacy. So next, I want to do action. So there is in English, when we want to say that something is happening right now or potentially in the more immediate future, we're going to say, I am doing. So we have the ing and we use I am, you are, he or she is, and then we use ing after the verb to indicate that we're doing it right now. And that's the present progressive. And in Spanish, we have that. And in order to use the present progressive, we're going to use a star and we are going to use ing. Next is a condition. So if something is broken or someone is sick, that's one reason we can use it. So la mujer está enferma, so she is sick. And then finally, emotions. So emotions here are ella está feliz. She is happy. So I will come back to these in a later video, but for right now, I'm running out of time. Thank you very much. Please give me feedback and